Dad reads Sci-fi.
The Legacy of Heorot, Chapter 17. Rescue. No man quite believes in any other man. H.L. Mencken. Prejudices. But what could have happened? Zack demanded. Cadman guided Skeeter 1 through the twisting canyon, barely noticing the naked rock walls rising to either side. Don't know. The west side of the canyon was growing rapidly darker. The smaller sun cast shadows much sharper than he had been used to on Earth. It made judging distances harder. Cadman moved the Skeeter toward the brightly lit eastern wall. It was banded in orange and pale reds. Don't know. Damn pretty country here. You sure? Yeah. How can you be so calm? I'm not, but what's the use of getting excited until there's something to do? Yeah, you're right. Zack took a deep breath. Those walls are pretty, like the Australian outback. Ever go there? No, the UN never needed soldiers out there. It was a rock, Cadman. It had to be a rock. A rock that got 2 boats? Why not? And we don't know that Elliot's boat is gone. Like hell we don't. Cadman's mouth was a grim line. Look, Zack, you can kid yourself about the interpretation, but not about what we heard. And the last thing we heard was LaDonna screaming. And the last thing we saw? You saw. I ran the tape and I didn't see what you saw. Oh, maybe I didn't see it either. There was something. Something dark in the water near Carlos' raft. Something that I swear was moving across the current. Well, no, I won't swear. Cadman spoke into his comm card. Skeeter 2. Here, Stu Ellington answered. We're coming up to the bend. You go right across the canyon, down to the rapids, and turn back. We'll start the search at the upstream end. Roger. Goddamn, I'm glad you're with us. Me too, Zack said carefully. I'm still hoping we don't find... Nobody had to remind you to bring your rifle. And damned if that spare clip doesn't look loaded with incendiaries. Zack grunted. I'm not going to be stupid about it. Skeeter 2 rounded the bend ahead. Cadman had just made the turn when Stu's voice came through the radio. I've spotted wreckage downstream, but no sign of... Holy shit, 9 o'clock. Cadman's eyes flashed to the left, and for a moment all he saw was the sheer rock face of the gorge. Then he focused, and he saw the creature, perched like a house cat on a bookshelf only a dozen meters above a stranded Carlos. Straight in, surprised. Shoot when you have a target, Cadman ordered. It's not moving, just sitting there, a little closer. Zack, make the first shots count. Maybe it will forget about Carlos and head for the river. Stu, he shouted into the radio, you check the river. Look for other monsters. Look for Elliot and LaDonna and Bobby too, Zack said. Cadman spun the Skeeter to hover 20 meters from the canyon wall. Now, he shouted. Zack shouldered his rifle and squeezed off a burst. Spent shells whirred out of the rifle breech in a glittering arc. The monster twisted, turned toward the Skeeter, then swiveled wildly, searching the river and the cliff above, finally looking back at the Skeeter. Cadman touched a button and spoke into the tiny microphone attached to his helmet. Carlos, hang in there, amigo. His amplified voice echoed through the canyon. Carlos was trapped, frozen except for one foot which slipped as he fought for a toehold. His hands and arms were stretched painfully taut. His head twisted back to look at them. Then he pressed his cheek back into the cliff face again. What's it doing up there? Zack demanded. It was paying more attention to its sides than to Skeeter 1. It licked at the bullet holes. Zack fired again. A long burst. The creature recoiled against the rock. Its gaze rested on them for an instant, and its head twitched to the left and the right with the speed of a hummingbird's wings. Then, with no warning at all, it dove off the cliff, ran down the side faster than a rock could fall, hit the ground, and sped for the river. Cadman couldn't pivot the Skeeter fast enough to see it dive between the rocks. Skeeter 2 was just whizzing back across the river when the creature disappeared with a splash. Cadman spoke through the amplifier. Okay, amigo, you can come down now. He switched to radio. Stu, did you? I've got it, Cad. Not a clear view. There's too much disturbance in the water, but it looks like there's a cave mouth down there. I'd say we've got it penned. Gotcha, Cadman crowed silently. Hover. If it shows up, blow it away. Roger. But Cad, we have the remains of both rafts, and Elliot's dead. We can't find LaDonna or Bobby. The The news hit home savagely, dulling the flash of pleasure. Stay over the cave. We'll look for the ladies. What about Carlos? He's moving, Cadman said. When he gets to the ledge, we'll see if he needs help. Nothing I can do from here right now. He turned back to Zack. I could set you down where you can wait for Carlos. No, Zack squeezed out each word. This isn't going to get any easier if we wait. Cadman pulled back on the stick, and the skeeter peeled away from the wall and headed downriver, looking for what they really didn't want to find. Cadman stood, rifle butt braced against his thigh, watching the water boiling over the rocks. Somewhere beneath the foam was a monster who had killed Elliot and LaDonna and wounded Bobby. You're going to die down there, he whispered. There was a sudden sound behind him, and Cadman wheeled instinctively, rifle coming to bear without a conscious thought. Carlos gave a weak smile, shaking a cigarette out of a plastic pack. Smoke? No thanks. Several different emotions warred on Carlos' face, and he finally lowered the package. Absurd, isn't it? I mean, I want to give you something. A cigarette? A handshake. Cadman extended his hand. Thanks, Cadman. I never understood what you went through until now. His dark face was relaxed, his voice very quiet. You've forgotten your accent. Carlos gave a short bark of laughter. Yeah, wait around. Bullshit has a way of piling back up. He exhaled a long stream of smoke. His hands were shaking badly. Bobby will be all right, won't she? She won't wake up. Why am I asking you? His eyes lost focus. Were gazing into the wall of rock on the far side of the gorge. Too well, Cadman knew what they were seeing. Skeeter 2 was still hovering over the Miskatonic. If there isn't another exit from the cave, then we've got the damn thing pinned. Is that it? That's it. Skeeter 6 was humming in, loaded cargo hoist swinging pendulously. Cadman looked at Carlos critically. Are you fit? Carlos ground out the half-smoked cigarette. I'm shaking. I'll be over it. And the best way is to kill that thing. What are your ideas? You'll see. The cargo hoist beneath the Skeeter was full, and the pilot lowered it. When it was down and released, the Skeeter touched down, and Jerry dismounted, a rifle over his shoulder, a bulky square equipment case in his left hand. Skeeter 6 took 2's place over the river. Jerry clapped Carlos on the back, shook hands with Cadman. Camp is in an uproar, not a panic. We're moving. They headed back to the temporary shelter, where Stu and Andy were unpacking equipment. Zack had flown Bobby back to camp first. There was very little said, and not much show of nerves, just swift, purposeful action. With a grinding hum, another Skeeter bore in men and equipment. Cadman grunted satisfaction to himself. The colony's response was swift and sensible. Maybe it took tragedy to bring out the survivor in them. They walked over to the man and woman dismounting from the newest Skeeter. Cadman nodded in greeting. We've got to move quickly. It's badly wounded now. We may be able to capture it, Jerry interjected. We need to capture it alive if at all possible, Cadman. All right, Jerry. But don't expect me to take any chances with it. I'm laying the tightest trap I can. If everything goes perfectly, we may be able to take it alive. If one little thing fucks up, we kill it. And if more than a little thing goes wrong, Carlos said grimly. Together they walked to the edge of the rocks, overlooking the swirling depths of the Miskatonic. They could see little. Cadman touched his headphone. Any sign of activity? None yet. Flash on the tiniest movement. That's the way we want it. The river bottom was dark and cold, and somewhere down there was what Cadman wanted. You're mine, he whispered. What was that, amigo? Amigo. Cadman looked at him in disgust. I knew it was too good to last.